John, Chad brings up Chris Beard. He brings up Kim Mulkey. That's a good segue to college basketball. You had a story this week in the paper today, actually, as we film this podcast, um, about the transfer portal in college basketball, currently sitting at over 1,700.
Yeah.
Scott Drew had a quote in your piece that said, "He's surprised it wasn't over 2,000." There's a lot of guys changing addresses, changing zip codes, and to me, this is just the start of the trend, really, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Baylor's national championship team, it was built with veterans. On that team. All five Baylor starters had been there at least 3 years. Their top three players off the bench had been there at least two. You're
Probably
not
not coincidence.
right, not a coincidence. You're not going to see that much anymore. I mean, with
Mhm.
guys just transferring like crazy. And for some, it's going to work out, and that might be a coach or a different system that fits them better. But for a lot of them, they were probably just as well off staying where they were. They're probably just thinking the grass is a little greener somewhere else, and which is not always the case. But yeah, it will be interesting. I mean, like TCU brought in seven new guys. Texas has at least six. Texas Tech has six 4-year college transfers. I think Iowa State has about six. Baylor uh, is one of the more stable teams, only brought in two. So, and that's with four starters being gone from last year's team. So, yeah, it's going to be, you'll definitely need a roster next year to check out the teams.
Now, you mentioned that, that it might be the norm, but I actually think this is more kind of a perfect storm for transfers because a certain percentage of those transfers are guys that were seniors last year that get one more lap and just choose to take that somewhere else,
right?
Which is the case with Bryson Williams, the transfer from UTEP to Texas Tech, and I'm sure many across the board. Plus, just kind of lifting all restrictions in terms of transferring at this point because of the difficulties athletes had to deal with COVID-19 and the season that was, and then. But the other thing is, I think guys on everybody's roster that in terms of minutes were 8 or 9, I say guys and ladies that were like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in minutes. All those people got to be thinking, am I going to get more minutes here next season, or my chance to play more, is that somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, like a lot of things, there are going to be pros and cons to this, good and bad. I had a column about the transfer portal, I don't know, a month or two ago, and talked about, college free agency is here, deal with it. It's not, you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. But so there are going to be some, negative elements to that. I feel like back in the 80s and 90s, a really hot time for college basketball, we were able to get to know players because they were with those programs longer. You hated Christian Laettner, because he was there forever and they were good. And, that you built up this sort of relationship with these guys, and then the pro side of it, the good side of it, I guess, is you are able to fill some roster spots with some proven commodities. I mean, going out and getting guys that are averaging 19, 20 points a game in college, whereas maybe a recruit is a little bit more of a mystery. I look at it as almost the Zoom analogy. So we're sitting here on Zoom, and it's a convenient thing. It's nice to be sitting here in our various homes and able to do this. And yet, I think we would also all agree that during COVID, we all got a little tired of Zoom. doing 8 jillion of them and not being in person. And I know when Baylor went back to in-person interviews that I was excited because it was like, oh yeah, this is the way it's supposed to work. So, there's good and there's bad.
Did y'all
Yeah.
realize, I pointed this out to John yesterday, but including the 60-man rosters, there are 1,900 NFL players. So basically what you have the equivalent of is if every NFL player switched teams.
That's pretty amazing.
Right.
That's pretty amazing. And like Drew said, it's not over yet. So they'll probably get to that 1,900 number.